けど久しぶりにバイブス上げてこう우리 선택이 있을까?
How's it going, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And today, we're wrapping up the anime featuring everyone's favorite flagrant racist. We're talking Frieren, episodes 21 through 28, the mage exam arc. But first, if you enjoy the podcast and want to hear more of our objectively correct takes, registered trademark, then be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode of Castaway Anime. Crunchy, how we feeling?
First of all, love the intro. Frieren is the best anime racist, better than even Geto Suguru.
True.
No one does it like her, what can I say?
Yeah, she's an icon, she is the moment, a legend.
Yeah, so
I aspire to one day be as proudly, openly racist, as opposed to the closet racist that I currently am.
Neon, you can't say that first thing, Neon.
All right, well, now that we've filtered out everyone, only the true
One
fans
hell
will
of a
stick around
filter,
here.
if there ever was one. Yeah, only cool people beyond this point.
Comment down below if you're cool and you made it to, what, 2 minutes into the podcast, if that.
Not even. Yeah, okay, so thoughts on the actual show. Let's just get right into it. So, the first season of Frieren is finally over. It still has a higher score than FMA Brotherhood, I'm pretty sure, on Mal. It'll fall eventually.
Therefore,
obviously.
this is the best anime of all time. It has been decreed.
Objectively.
The High Council has decreed it.
Yeah, I wonder how much longer they'll decree it, knowing the history of every other anime that's been above it for any length of time. But, let's forget about that for a second. The classic war we fight with FMA Brotherhood every other season, literally.
Wasn't Oshinoko when it came out above FMA Brotherhood?
Yes. My favorite one to be above FMA Brotherhood is actually Owari Monogatari Season 2, because by that point there were only Monogatari fans watching it, and so everyone rated it highly.
Yeah, they're predisposed to giving it a 10.
Yeah. Even though Monogatari is it's not super niche, but it's relatively niche. And so it's just, surreal to see it at the tippy top. But anyway, that aside, I wouldn't say it's quite the best anime ever made. I still do love it, but after having seen the entire show, I was entertained by this last arc, definitely, and I do think it was overall stronger than the mid-section of the show. So, yeah, I guess if I were to rank every third of the show we've covered, I'd put the second third at the bottom, this one right in the middle, and then the first third on the top of the sandwich.
I agree. I don't think we have surpassed the demon arc with Aura and whatnot, but this is definitely the closest we've gotten to that in terms of quality in the narrative.
I also just feel like we haven't gotten above the first 4 episodes. No cap on God for real.
Nah, I feel like the demon arc was better than the first 4 episodes.
I really don't. I think Frieren, it's a testament, and this is gonna sound so insulting, and I don't mean it that way because I do really like this show and do rate it highly, but I feel like it's a testament to this idea that I've been seeing, that all you really need to make a successful show is for it to have a really captivating, impactful beginning. And you also see this with Oshinoko, where even though I don't think the first episode
you can argue
of
that for
is the
any
best,
show, right?
Yeah, almost any show. Well, I guess not almost every show, because there are a lot of shows that I don't think the first episode is anywhere close to the best that I would rate highly. Sangatsu no Lion doesn't get anywhere close to its peak until well into the first season.
I mean, well, that's because the first few minutes of Sangatsu no Lion
you're wrong. You're wrong. So.
If you know, you know. But that's neither here nor there.
But what I mean is that, granted, to me, typical narrative structure does often make, the first episode a high point because it's the inciting incident. But at the same time, I feel like if you've gotten that first initial hype, you're already most of the way there to a super successful show. That once again isn't even to say that Frieren got bad or ever was bad. I don't think Frieren ever had a bad episode or even one that I thought was boring.
I agree.
Think every episode of Frieren is good to some degree, varying degrees, but they are all good.
Yeah, some are, clearly better than others, but it never gets into the, oh god, can we like get on to something? Can we do something? I don't think we've ever like gotten that feeling in Frieren.
Yeah, I mean, the closest I got, I guess, was seeing Fern mad in this third in particular. Thankfully, it did not get as prevalent and obnoxious as it clearly could have. But there were a few moments of that where I'm like, can Fern just like not do this?
Fern just chill the fuck out and not be a total spaz?
But like other than that, I don't.
I say that, but then again, I see Fern pout and I clap, and I updoot.
And you are presumably most people with this show. But yeah, like, it never gets to a point where it's unwatchable or bad or even not entertaining. I think it is good the entire way through, but I do think the very beginning is where it peaks. I think that is where the themes were at their boiling point and when the tension was palpable. And, I don't want to say it's been downhill there because there have been peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys. It's not just a straight slope down, but I do think it did peak early.
Yeah, so here's a question that I want to pose to you early on, because I've been thinking about this, the entirety of the show's airing, and been seeing the sentiment floating around online, and I want to get your thoughts. Do you think Frieren is the best fantasy anime to come out in like the last decade or so?
Decade? That is a long stretch of time. I wish I could. Well, first of all, I think Mushoku Tensei is better based on what I remember of it, and based on not having seen season 2. I always clarify this because
if you're comparing just the first season of Mushoku Tensei to Frieren, you prefer Mushoku Tensei?
Yeah, I like its characters more. Even though Rudius is like the most evil motherfucker to have ever lived, he still is, I think, a good protagonist from what I remember of the show. I like Eris a lot. She's pure joy. Fuck anyone who says she's annoying. That was only for like an episode. Yeah, I just like the show a lot. And I always want to say season 2, but it's season 1 core 2 because
it's all one fucking season.
Yeah.
It's all one fucking season.
Yeah, somehow, even though there's like the split down the middle, but like core 2 of season 1, I rate a 10 on my AniList account, and until I rewatch it and have my hopes dashed.
How long has it been since you watched it?
Around 2. It's a little over 2 years.
Okay. All right. Now here's an additional question. Remove all isekai from your brain, like isekai and native isekai. Same question: is it the best fantasy anime in the last 10 years?
Well, how would that change? Oh, wait, hold on, because Mushoku Tensei, I always, because isekai is so synonymous with trash in my mind, when you said remove all isekai, there was genuinely a moment where I thought, well, Mushoku Tensei would still be the best.
Well, see, here's the reason I pose this question to you, because similarly to how you say Mushoku Tensei is your favorite fantasy anime in the last decade or so, I would say Konosuba would be my favorite fantasy anime in the last decade, aside from Frieren. And if I were to remove Konosuba per the like isekai rule that I put into place, I couldn't tell you another fantasy and like a straight up actual genuine bona fide fantasy anime that's as good as Frieren.
Yeah, well, if I'm being honest, I think Dungeon Meshi has a chance at being better than Frieren.
Okay, yeah, that one, I will say that one is the only other contender, and Dungeon Meshi started at the same time as no, wait, am I getting that wrong? Did they premiere in the same
It started
season?
at the same time as the second half of Frieren.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that makes sense. Because Frieren premiered in
Oh, you know what we're
fall.
missing? We're missing Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss is better than
Oh
this.
yeah, okay, yeah. Meant brief lapse of retardation. Okay, yeah, Maiden Abyss.
Made in Abyss clears specifically the first season. If we're talking about and the movie is incredible and the best part of Made in Abyss. Season 2, I was a little less huge on. I only gave that one an 8 as opposed to a 9 like the season 1 and movie. And Frieren is probably better than that if we're just talking about season 2, but entirety of Made in Abyss, yeah, it clears Frieren.
Yeah, Maiden Abyss definitely clears. Because it got me thinking, watching Frieren and like watching a true, genuine fantasy anime. Those are so rare nowadays. Like, the fantasy and anime has been dominated by shitbox isekai.
Well, you know what the worst part is? It's not just that it's been dominated by isekai, because there have been a lot of, seasonal native fantasies. The problem is, they're not just native fantasies, they're native isekai. They're the same thing, essentially, except they just nix the isekai part and keep in all the bad tropes. That's the problem.
A demon lord chilling in his 30s because he got kicked out of the hero's party or some shit. And I was gonna farm he's gonna start his new farming life at level 0 or some bullshit.
I mean, I'm right now looking through my AniList profile, like for all the fantasies I rate highly. All the ones that I give like a score above Frieren, aside from Made in Abyss, tends to be they're mostly urban fantasies. So like Monogatari, that's an urban fantasy. Dragon Maid, you can make the case for. Probably. I'd say it probably
when I was talking about Frieren and Made in Abyss, yeah, I'm talking like straight up fantasy.
Yeah, straight fantasy.
Because like you could make the argument that Demon Slayer is a fantasy. You could make the argument that what's another reason like the upcoming Dawn to Dawn that's gonna have some fantasy elements in it. But
like Call of the Night, I would say is better than this. You'd probably disagree, but
that
has fantasy elements.
But the Call of the Night has fantasy elements in like the loosest sense of the term. The only fantastic thing about it is that vampires are real. That's it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. None of these are like pure hard-boiled.
Yeah, I'm talking like pure virgin, untouched, unsullied fantasy.
Yeah, without even a hint of the real world in it.
Exactly. So I think that's part of the reason why everyone has, not to play psychiatrist for an entire audience of anime watchers, but if I were to throw my hat in the ring, I would say that part of the reason why people got so attached to the show is because it's like the first genuine good fantasy anime that's completely unrelated to isekai. There's no like cringe, overpowered Gary Stu main character that gets all the bitches. No tropiness. It's all like genuine, heartfelt. The characters are all lovable and interesting. There's themes, like cool shit happens in it, and like the production's also part of it because Madhouse. This is like the best Madhouse show in. The people say Sunny Boy. There's some Sunny Boy fans, but I think this is the best Madhouse show since probably One Punch Man, right?
I forget if Ori Monogatari came out before or after One Punch Man, so that could be the deciding factor. But point is, it's been a while. And I'd even go so far as to say it's not just one of the best anime from a production standpoint, just in its genre or of Madhouse, but also just overall, like, I think it has a better production than, like, the last anime that I can remember, in terms of, like, chronologically coming out, the last anime that I'd say has a, like, better production values than this, unless I'm blanking on something, it'd be Chainsaw Man, straight up.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, would you count Bochi or would you not count Bochi?
Bochi, it, I think it's more so its art direction and overall direction that carry it, less so than the production values, even though those were also stellar for the most part.
I half agree with that sentiment. But yeah, the entirety of Frieren, one can make the argument that Frieren is a better production than Chainsaw Man because was there a moment did I like forget, or was there a single moment of bad CG in the entirety of Frieren?
Uh, I can't even recall any CG, let
And any
alone
bad
bad
CG.
CG.
I'm sure
Yeah.
there were probably some really good CG snuck in somewhere, but I cannot
I
think of
had
like
a thought about there was this like one magic effect when Frieren's fighting her shadow that I thought might have been CG. But
I'm
it was,
sure there are
like,
probably some digital
so
effects thrown in
yeah.
there. I would not be surprised, but the whole show, it from start to finish looks phenomenal.
Yeah, like it
The
does
ca-
not
the
lose its production values at all. But Neon. And this is my just fully my idea. I have not taken this from any other podcasts, and those podcasts may or may not have had people that stole from us. Although I'm making up a podcast, but those fights at the end of Frieren, they were a bit good looking, and I think that maybe they saw the reaction to the show and they thought, let's animate it harder. Let's put more budget on it. I came up with that, Neon.
I think we're a better podcast than Trash Taste.
We at least know more about anime than them.
Yeah,
And
well,
then
okay,
that's
yeah, I'll
something.
say that. maybe we don't quite have the clout to, put our dick on the table and say we're outright better than them, but we definitely know more about anime production.
Listen, all I'm saying is there was an implied 20-minute tangent there. I'm not gonna go down it, but I could have talked about it for that long, and that's what matters.
Like, I'm just, I won't feed it to you. I'll just say this. I'm so shocked that you can be in, like, the anime game for that long and have that brain dead take. Like, how do you not
Yeah.
know about how shows are made?
I almost wanted to go down that tangent, but no, I'm stopping myself. I have to repress the demons, or else Frieren will kill me.
Yeah. Well, no, Frieren would like that you're repressing the demons and denying them their rights, because they deserve none.
True, I'm keeping down the demons, and that's what she would do.
She'd keep them down all in the concentration camps, if she could let it.
Yeah, this is why we're better than Trash Taste. We make jokes of that caliber.
Yeah. We're not afraid to go there. This ain't your grandma's anime podcast. I'm waking up to ash and dust.
Holy shit.
Okay.
So what actually happens in these episodes of Frieren? We've gone on about 20 minutes without actually saying anything.
I mean, now we were talking about the show.
We said things, but we did not go into specifics, I guess. We're talking about generalities here.
Yeah, so with the show, with this arc, we're in the magic exam arc. We left off like halfway through the first test where we're trying to catch these birds so we can graduate to the next one. So the first the first big event that happens with the first test that we left off on, Frieren's teaming up with the two lesbians who are clearly in love with each other, and they're not quite as in love as Fern and Stark, but they're definitely up there as one of the couples of Frieren. They're fighting Rock Dude. They fight him, and meanwhile Frieren takes on based Denken.
Yeah, so Denken is a character who I surprisingly ended up rooting for a lot. Well, first of all, Denken, I'm like, sometimes seeing the German names in Frieren can be a bit surreal. Yes, this guy's name is Think, and this guy's name is Strong. Just stuff like that. So yeah, Denken's name means think, and
He is a thinker.
He is a thinker.
He is a beard stroking thinker.
Yeah, and he comes from, okay, he's wealthy, and they're like, oh, why do you need to be a first class mage? Like, you can get anything you want, right? But he wants to visit a grave in the north that was his wife that died from illness, and only first class mages are allowed there. And he's like, my brother in Christ, I just want to visit a grave, man. And I was like, that's all you needed to say.
My dead
I root
wife.
For you now.
You
could not have crafted a more sympathetic reason for him becoming a first-class mage.
He's kind of like an old Gabimaru from Hell's Paradise, except his wife is actually dead.
Yeah, and it's such a perfect motivation. Like it's literally, when I say it's as sympathetic as possible, I mean it literally is. Like, it is just sympathetic enough without going ham. So I like Denken a lot. He's a bro.
His best moment definitely came when he's fighting Frieren. Like, he knows he's kind of outclassed. He tries anyway because he thinks he can, might have a shot at overpowering her. He can't. He loses. And even despite his best fire tornado, which was a raw-ass cut of animation, so Frieren is able to beat him, and he's like, well, shit, I guess we're gonna lose now because we don't have a bird. But then his group comes across these two guys who lost one of their comrades, and he's like, oh, like, they have a bird, but they've already lost because one of their teammates died, so they got disqualified even though they have a bird. And Denken's like, well, you know what? Even though they've lost the exam, these are the kinds of guys who, their pride won't allow them to just hand over the bird. So, and I've already expelled all of my magic fighting Frieren, so I've got no magic fireballs left to throw, no fire tornadoes to shoot at people. So you know what? Fuck magic, it's time to throw some motherfucking hands. And he just disrobes his cloak and just fucking rushes into the guy with the bird, and then I'm sad that we never see him throw an actual punch, but it's heavily implied that he just boxed shit out off screen and took the bird by force.
It's the most badass thing ever.
Yeah, because it's a fucking old man doing it.
He's the spitting. He is masculinity. He just is. He is the buff dude.
I wish to grow into the kind of man that Denken is when I get to be his age.
Yeah, another raw moment from this episode is Frieren destroying the barrier. She shoots a spell into it, and it dissipates in this beautiful cut of animation, by the way. I love the colors they choose. It is, I have it screenshotted right here, and then it starts crumbling above the two guys overseeing the test. It starts crumbling above them. That was cool. And the reason she does that, the tactical reason, is that one of the lesbians, she needs water in order to be able to use magic. She relies on it. And so it's raining outside, but the barrier is stopping it from reaching them. And so she's letting the rain down so that she can use the use the water to use magic. And this guy that they're facing, by the way, we learn a lot about how magic works in this block of episodes, and so we'll presumably get more into it later. But this guy they're fighting cannot visualize himself beating water, and so she has a massive upper hand as soon as the rain starts pouring down, which is why he got them away from the water by using that earth spell to begin with.
Yeah, I even love how Frieren sort of implies that she wouldn't be able to beat Kane in a match in the rain, because she says something like, can you visualize yourself beating a water mage when it's raining? I can't.
Yeah. Visualization, it was not mentioned at all before this point, but it is now a huge part of magic. Whether you can visualize the spells you're casting, and whether or not you can visualize beating someone. And we see later, it is like actually insane how much of a boon it is. Very suddenly.
It rewards the autistic mind.
Essentially. But the thing is, seeing that, I was just like, I'd be fucked in Frieren society. I'd be, because you know that image of like the apple and what you can see in your mind, and it's like a scale from like nothing to like sort of grainy to
Like a
perfect
perfect
recreation. I'm like sort of like slightly grainy on that scale. Yeah, I'd be like the weak. I would be the D-class adventurer who would need a cheat skill to survive.
Well, who doesn't need a cheat skill because she can just think of the cheat skill? Base Ubel.
Yeah, so I guess we can get into it's very far ahead. And unless you're talking about something else that I'm just blanking on.
Well, since we're already talking about the mechanics of magic in this world, I really want to talk about Ubel just because she has my favorite implementation of this, and how it sounds retarded, but it's actually like it makes total sense when you apply the show's logic to it.
I sort of half agree with that, because I do think it is kind of jarring how big of a deal it is now when it has never been mentioned before. Although it does kind of make sense in the regard that, okay, well, this is the arc where magic starts to become a thing, and the author seems to have left magic's mechanics as vague as possible for as long as possible, so that he could just get back to it whenever he felt like it. But it does also feel, I guess, a little... I'm not sure how exactly to phrase this, because overpowered doesn't feel quite right. It's like, you can get really far just by being able to imagine good. Like, it is a little far to me, and it's like, well, okay, how... Like, I don't necessarily get the exact relationship between learning and practical application and imagining really good. I don't get the exact dynamic between the two.
I think my biggest issue with that is just that I don't know what the limit is. Like, because some magic, it allows you to create something from nothing. So how do you visualize the concept of turning literal nothingness into a somethingness?
Well, I'm also not sure, like, how hard do you need to imagine? Because when the characters say, I can't imagine myself beating water, I'm in my head thinking, like, okay, if I'm, like, a really practiced mage, what I would spec into, if a visualization is this big of a deal, is knowing that if you imagine hard enough, you'll win, to then give you the confidence to imagine hard enough. That, I feel like that would be the strat. That would be the play. Either that or psychopathy, because then you're just
So what you're telling me, Crunchy, is that those alpha male videos on YouTube, those guys would become the strongest people, the mages in Frieren.
I mean, I guess if you're looking at it from the perspective of, like, unearned confidence, yeah, possibly, because they're just fearless. They're like, because they're that dumb. They're so dumb that it would unironically make them strong in this world. Potentially. Unless there's a mechanic that gets introduced later that, like, sort of contradicts this.
Yeah, so this is why I love what Ubel does, or at least has done in the show. So her big thing is that she is a third-class mage, but there were rumors that she had killed a first-class mage, which is like, well, how the fuck was she able to do that when she's this third class? And also, she's kind of twisted in the head and is pretty okay with just, casually taking lives whenever she deems it fit. So we see in her flashback how she's able to utilize her technique. She's got the Sukuna technique. She has his cleave ability, but whereas Sukuna can just look at you and you either use like actual physical energy to cut you or cursed energy to cut you. Ubel needs to use magic to visualize herself cutting through something. And she has to be able to believe that she can cut through it, and then she'll be able to cut through it. So normally the technique should only allow you to cut through things that can, conventionally be cut. You can apply it to things that you normally wouldn't be able to cut. Like she demonstrates it by using it against a stone wall, but she doesn't cut clean through it. She just leaves a scar onto it. But we get a flashback to a previous time she took the first class mage exam. This one guy had on the immovable, like impenetrable cloak or some shit. It is like completely impervious to normal magical attacks. And the test was, okay, make him take a step back. All you can throw all the magic you want on him. You just gotta make him take a step back. We see this one guy throwing like fireballs and lightning bolts and ice blasts, and nothing was happening. The cloak was, blocking all of it. So then Ubel walks up, touches him, and cleaves him right through like she's fucking Elfen Lied. And so everyone is shocked because, like, not only did she break through the immovable cloak, she straight up fucking killed the guy, which, caused her to be disqualified from that exam. But then it got the other first class mages realizing, holy shit, this girl is like, her magic, she has such clean, expert visualization because she used to be what's a seamstress, is that the word? Someone who used to sew. Her sister, she watched her sister sew and cut fabric a lot. She, much like a serial killer would, has this almost fetishistic appreciation of the act of cutting through a fabric. And so when she after doing that for so long, she's like perfectly able to envision herself cutting fabric because she watched her sister do it for so long, and presumably she also did it for so long. So with her cutting technique, she thinks that, okay, it doesn't matter how enchanted or durable your fabric is. Like, your fabric could be made of like, steel strength tensile and be like, made of fabric but as strong as a metal, or can be enchanted to be as magic proof as possible. If she can believe that it's a fabric that since it's a fabric, and she like says fabric is meant to be cut, kind of like how hair is meant to be cut. It's only natural to cut fabric. It doesn't matter how strong it is. She believes it can be cut, therefore it will be cut. So she just cut through it, and that's why she's able to take out the clone of Sense, the first class mage who uses her hair as her magic technique. And even she admits that, yeah, if we got into an actual fight, I would fucking lose instantly. I would not be able to overcome her, pure belief in, fabric and hair is meant to be cut. People die when they are killed type shit.
Yeah. And I mean, you pretty much got the gist of it. And that's sort of Ubel's, I guess, big moment of this block of just us seeing how she kills the first class mage, and her defeating Sensei's whatever. I don't really know how to pronounce her name, but her shadow clone jutsu.
It's weird because I heard them pronounce it like Zensei, like with Z's instead of S's. But the subtitles say scent, like the word sense.
Yeah, it is literally the word sense as it is written. And that's sort of what I mean when I say that it does feel a little like, please clarify the relationship between practical application and imagination. Because, like, once again, it was super mega uber enchanted, and she can just easily cut through it. And so some clarification on how I mean, we do know how it's possible, I guess, in a technical sense. But at the same time, it does also, sort of beg the question, why does it need all these enchantments to begin with? If it is such an Achilles heel, just by virtue of it, I guess, being
I don't think that they were, like, prepared for her to be able to.
They were not prepared for perfect psychopathic visualization abilities.
Yeah, and I feel like that plays into the idea of Serie, who had this fear of well, not necessarily fear, but a sort of worry that the era of humans is approaching. Well, because magic is being made more accessible to humans and all of humanity, as opposed to magic races like elves and demons. they're able to study it and apply their own, logics and understandings to it. And now all these different people from all these different walks of life are developing their own techniques, and it's getting to the point now that people like Fern can be raised and brought up into existence by, she had probably the best teacher possible, but even still, she's not even 20 years old and already a first class mage. Like, she's, while not as strong as Frieren, she was able to, uh, she would, if she, given the opportunity, she could kill Frieren.
Yeah, it is well established within this block of episodes. Fern could kill Frieren, and that is because we were talking about this. I think early on, even like as early as the first podcast. Like, will Frieren have a weakness? Will she lose? Will she meet someone who is like as strong as her? Granted, her match, the hardest fight she comes across is herself.
Trust no one, not even
Literally.
yourself.
Literally, she's her worst. She's her own
need a
worst
Photoshop
enemy.
image of the meme of her holding a gun beside herself.
Yeah, but it is established she has her own weakness of like when she is about to cast magic, she stops sensing mana. And what I love about this is a detail I absolutely adore. It's something that like every mage of like a certain skill level knows how to do. It is like pathetically easy to do for most people, but Frieren has been alive for all these thousands of years and still does not know how to do it because she's I mean, it fits her character. She's such a clumsy person.
She spends so much time learning and collecting all the different spells that she can that she neglected like some of the fundamentals.
Yeah, it's so fitting of her character. I love it. But that is her big weakness, and the explanation we're given is that like she's so powerful at everything else that no one can really exploit this weakness except for Fern and like people of her skill level, where Fern is really good at shooting a lot of spells continuously and a lot of spells really quickly. And so she got the quick draw on that shit and can do it, like fast enough that it's within the window where Frieren is not sensing it. And so, if she's just sneaking around, reducing her mana to the point where, Fern like Frieren can't pick it up, and then, just hits her with the gat real quick, she can knock her out.
It is though implied that, well, not implied, it's very clearly stated that while Fern has the capacity and the capability to kill Frieren, if it were like a straight up 1v1, she'd still lose because Frieren's packing some kind, like, she says after the clone is defeated, well, nice job, Fern. It's been about 80 years since someone like pushed me to use my full power like that. And it's implied that Frieren has some kind of telekinetic power that she can use magic even when she has no staff or no arms to cast it with.
Yeah, it's like some uber powerful spell that's like a last resort type of thing.
Yeah, she... what's interesting about that, it's like there's a magic circle that she casts around her feet that surrounds her whole self. And Fern specifically notes that she doesn't even recognize it as magic. She's like, her mana detection isn't going off at all. Like, she knows that she's being attacked, but she didn't realize that she didn't even recognize it as an attack, because she didn't even recognize it as magic. But then she realizes, oh, like, this is the height of magic. It's like so incomprehensible to me, I don't even like perceive it to be magic.
Yeah, so Fern's got a ways to go before she can truly take on Frieren in that 1v1. But because she tag teams Frieren's Shadow Clone Jutsu, so that she can, so that it isn't just an even 50-50 coin flip or anything like that. Because with these... Okay, we kind of didn't explain it, although it is fairly self-explanatory. They go down this dungeon, and the whole gimmick of the dungeon is that there are these shadow clones of the characters that have their abilities and replicate their... it reads their memories, and so it can act perfectly like them without having a mind. And them not having a mind is actually pretty important because it means they're immune to hypnosis magic. So you can't just mind control them or anything like that. No, they have no mind. You have to fight them one-on-one. Or, well, not specifically one-on-one, but you gotta fight them somehow. And so, yeah, like, it's established, if you're just fighting your clone, it's literally a coin flip. And you just gotta win the coin toss. But if you've got more than one person, or if you're fighting someone who's weak to you, and just doesn't know how to counter your abilities, you can take them on and, have a shot at winning if you do well enough. And so, in order to make the odds in Frieren's favor, Fern is there sneaking around in the shadows while Frieren and other Frieren are doing their business. And, waiting for her opportunity.
Yeah, I love the little get out of jail cards that they have where as like an emergency panic button where it's like I give up, I surrender. They have these little golems in a bottle where if you shatter the bottle, a golem will pop out and will dedicate its entire existence to protecting you from the clones and will shield you and carry you and race you out of the dungeon. That's just a cool, unique concept, but what I like about it is that it then leads into one of the most badass moments and like scariest moments of the whole arc, where Denken and his crew are the first ones to encounter the Frieren clone, and they're I think Richter's like, Denken, what do you make of the situation? And he's like, well, I'll tell you this much: if this weren't an exam and my entire quest of seeing my dead wife's grave didn't ride on this, I would have broken my bottle frame one.
That is a hard-ass line. Denken's just a badass, what can I say? Everything he does and says is awesome.
Yeah, even the way he says, yeah, I would have thrown in the towel immediately is like, has a lot of gravity behind it.
Yeah,
Granted, the reveal of
anyway.
the Frieren clone is one of the coolest moments of the show.
Yeah. This is a little off topic, but I am stunned that there was no grudge match with Ubel. That just didn't... We were all predicting it. It did not happen.
Well, what do you mean by grudge match?
Or I guess... I mean, some kind of match against Ubel as, like, I'm not sure if I would say villainous, like an antagonistic presence.
I did kind of... I did think that she was gonna play some kind of antagonistic role, but no, she just kind of... Is it fair to call her chaotic neutral? Because everything that
she is evil. Like this has been established.
Is she? Well,
she likes killing. She is a psychopath.
Okay, but she didn't kill anyone during this entire exam. I'm pretty. Wait, am I getting that wrong? Did she kill some of the people in the bird test?
Not that I remember.
Because I know we remember seeing some guys like strewn up on like trees and shit. I just don't remember if that was Ubel specifically.
I'm not sure if it was confirmed, but
because definitely
she is, like,
100
completely down with killing. Like this was established as like the first thing we figure out about her character.
Yeah, but 100% second exam onward, she did not kill anyone. The guy in the flashback does not count.
How does he not count? I mean, it's not in the exam, I guess. But
yeah,
that was
part of her
before
the event.
Body count. So you're saying she's a reformed killer?
Well, reformed implies that she did hard time or something, or she changed her ways. She hasn't really changed her ways,
which is why I'm saying she's chaotic evil.
No, she's not chaotic. Okay, she would have killed everyone down there, or at least attempted to.
I guess she's not like uber. She has some self-restraint. She's just okay with killing people. Now, what do you call people who are okay with killing other people for menial reasons?
Chaotic good.
Based. But
wife.
Yeah, seriously. I would... At the very least, Can we at least agree that Ubel is not a good person?
No. If we're judging all of these characters in the exam on a morality basis, she's definitely at the bottom of the totem pole. The furthest down on the spectrum.
Yeah, but no, I was surprised. She just kind of is a psychopath. and that's and there's like no
Yeah,
no antagonistic matchup or anything like that. She just is.
Oh, you know what? But you know what makes her even more broken? Not just the fact that as long as she can visualize it happening, she can cut through anything. It's also that, and this part I think I like even more. If she's able to empathize with you, she copies your signature technique.
Yeah, like the fact that she is so psychopathic is both her greatest strength and her biggest weakness. Because on the one hand, it means that it's a boon in being
Is
able
it a
to
weakness,
just
though? When has it
it's
ever
a weakness in the
been
sense
a
that it
downfall
makes
for
it
her?
difficult for her to empathize with people. If she weren't a psychopath and had the same empathize ability, she would be able to do it much
that makes
easier.
sense.
Yeah, and,
I see
and
what you're
copy
saying
abilities
now.
left and right. But
True.
but it is her greatest strength in being able to, yeah, I can imagine myself cutting you in half. That's pretty easy. I am fetishistically into the idea of slicing. That's pretty cool.
I love how it's revealed that she copied Ubel's technique of being able to immobilize you. But because they both bonded over their, well, not necessarily bonded, but they were able to relate to each other with their talking of killing. She does say that sometimes that she needs to, sometimes work up the nerve to kill someone, or at the very least she understood that, and she would do it herself sometimes. Like, she wouldn't just look at some random schmo, like, going back to the Sukuna comparison. Sukuna would kill a motherfucker, chilling, drinking a nice cup of coffee on the
Oh yeah,
on a
Sukuna makes
cafe
Ubel
table.
look like Jesus.
Yeah, which is why now I really want to see who would win a fight between Sukuna and Ubel.
How is it even Sukuna obviously
Well,
wins.
Yeah, it'd just be interesting because they both have cutting techniques. Do you think,
Bro, have you seen Sukuna's cutting technique? Bro, Ubel would get cut in half and then into like 30 seconds within like a nanosecond.
Mari, here's the real question though. Could she cut through infinity?
What, like Gojo's infinity?
Yes.
I mean, Gojo's
is
setup
she
is so
autistically
overpowered.
retarded enough to envision herself cutting through?
I don't think she is. Because if we're going by Frieren the show's logic, if that guy wearing that cloak is in like having all those buffs on it was enough to prevent most people from visualizing it, there's no way anyone is going to be able to properly visualize cutting through infinity. Unless they are so stupid
can Ubel
that it just
do
makes
it just
them the
by
strongest person.
Can Ubel bypass infinity by imagining herself cutting through Gojo's clothes?
Well, the infinity would... If she wasn't consciously aware of the infinity, maybe that would work. But the second she's aware that there is an infinity, the human mind literally is, like, physically incapable of imagining infinity, therefore it would be impossible for any character in Frieren, given the magic system, to be able to beat Gojo.
Damn, so Gojo solos an entire verse once again.
Gojo would beat Frieren, and easily at that.
Yeah. It's not fair he has hacks.
True. He is in fact hacking. Let's ban and report him.
Shit, what were we talking about before?
We were going on a long tangent about
before we
Ubel's
simulated a death battle
power.
just there.
Yeah. Let's see, Ubel's cutting abilities. We were on that somehow. But I feel like we're
her
talking about
fight
something
scene with
unrelated
herself.
before that.
Oh, dude, do you imagine how fucking terrifying Ubel would be when she finally is able to empathize with Land and she copies his clone technique?
She would be busted. You know what though?
She's already busted. If you give her clones that she can remotely control from like city to country spanning distance, and multiple ones at that, it's over.
Well, the thing is, okay, because Ubel is definitely coming back. Like, there's no way she's not coming back. She's too good of a character. They've set her up too much.
Okay, the quick aside, I am shocked that we did not recruit a single member of any of these guys to the party by the end. I thought for sure at least one of them was gonna accompany us into Ende.
I didn't really think that.
I mean, we pulled Sane out.
It's probably
we pulled Sane out of basically nowhere just for the sake of we needed a priest at the time, and as excuse to get a new character. But they introduced all of these prominent characters with defined personalities and goals. You think we'd take one of them with us?
I think that actually works its way nicely into, I guess, my biggest problem with the arc, which is that by the end,
there wasn't enough Stark.
Well, yeah, there was pretty much no Stark. Although what we did get of him was great. I love his relationship with
the random ass old man.
Explicitly, it's a random guy who's just imparting like these jujutsu karate techniques on him. But it's like just stuff that Stark was already doing. Like he was just in the woods meditating, and he's there.
He imparts all this sage
meditating,
wisdom on him, and he's
good.
like, "You've come far as a warrior. I've nothing left to teach you." And then he just comes back the next day
every time.
Hilarious, fucking genius.
And like at the very end of the arc, it's shown that Stark has like befriended half the village at this point. Stark's just such a lovable dude. He's
a good boy. He's a good boy. He's unjustly abused by his handler wife Fern.
Oh yeah, Fern. If only she didn't have to make the pout face to appease the Fern fans. What a world of difference it'd make for Stark.
Such an abusive bitch to her lazy boy wife for staying up past his bedtime and drinking juice in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So, but anyway, before we got sidetracked with Stark gassing. That could be read in a horrible way. Holy, I did not realize how bad that was until it came out of my mouth. But anyway, that aside, I guess my biggest issue with this arc, I don't want to call it unsatisfying, but I feel like, although a lot of the characters did get plenty of badass moments, at the same time, I guess it feels like it could have been more, like specifically with Ubel, because she's the clearest example. She's been set up so much as like this psychopath and someone not to be messed with that it feels almost strange that it's like, oh yeah, she just cuts up which to be fair, that is like a very badass moment and I do like it. But I guess she feels almost like she, how do I put this? Because the characters do all get screen time except for the ones that you don't care about. So it's not, totally unsatisfying. I do like what we get of them. But it feels like I understand what you're. There could have been more to push us over the edge.
I think I get what you might be implying at. Are you do you share a similar sentiment with me that because we don't know when we'll see these characters next?
Oh, absolutely. I know the point front and back, and that is absolutely something I agree with.
I want Ubel to be a main character, goddammit. At the very least, a reoccurring one. This is the kind of shit that you like set up to spin off into so many different things. I kind of hope now that if this is how it goes in the manga, that the anime does something like this. I hope that we get to Frieren becomes a semi-anthology series where, the main story is going to be with Frieren, Fern, and Stark going to Ende. But then, like, every so often, kind of like in Avatar The Last Airbender, that's a good comparison, we have an episode where we check in with Ubel and Land, or Denken, or Lain and Kane.
That would be cool. I guess, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
now,
that is
because
one
now
of
that they're
the
going
big
away,
issues.
I'm gonna miss them, dude. It's Sane all over again. We just got them. Granted, I think they were around a little longer than Sane, but we just got this cool character with interacting with the main characters, and increasing the chemistry and therefore increasing the engagement and fun that I'm having with the show. And now I don't know when we're gonna see them again, if at all.
Yeah, with Sane, being as he is, I already have trust issues with the show, I guess, in that regard. where, like, they do leave an impression, and I do like all of the ones that they focus on. Denken, as we said, Land, his powers are super interesting. Him and Ubel should get together already. He totally didn't mean it when he said he didn't like Ubel.
It's not
they
like
should
I
just
like you
smooch.
anything, murderer.
He's just being a tsundere. But, you know,
A-
yeah,
a-
it is.
as Twitter has very clearly shown, all a girl has to do, it doesn't matter how much how much murder she does, how much she prides herself on. All she has to do is show armpit for 1 second, and people will give her the free pass. She has done no wrong.
Dude,
All is
the
forgiven.
discourse around that frame, both baffles yet at the same time doesn't surprise me.
Crunchy, are you a Pits guy?
I am like I am John the anti-Pit. I am against Pits.
He is not cultured.
But yeah, it is an issue of like, when will they return? And, you know, what they did doesn't feel satisfying enough to last me however long I assume they're going to be gone for, judging from what people have said about Sane. Maybe I'm just completely off base and they actually return relatively quickly, and then, you know, maybe there's no issue. You know, that issue goes away as soon as you're binging the show in retrospect instead of having to wait for another season. Which, this will almost certainly get another season. I can't see it not getting another one, because it is super popular.
At the very end of the final episode, it does say the journey to End Day continues, like a Marvel movie blank character will return. So, as of right now, as of the time of recording this, there has not been a hard confirmation of a season 2, but there's no way that it doesn't happen. Come on.
The manga was huge even before the anime, and this anime is like the biggest thing of the seasons it was airing. There's no way, unless they, you know, pull a No Game No Life, but haha, they would never do that. Oh wait, it's Madhouse. Uh-oh.
Who did they give One Punch Man to again?
Yeah, can't wait for the project
JC
number
Staff
9
season 2,
Frieren
baby.
season 2.
I will kill myself. You will find my body hanging from the telephone wires.
You know, I'm sure project number 9 and their whatever that hack director's name is, I'm sure they'll do a great job. But yeah, nightmare scenarios aside.
Can we talk about how Frieren is not only the strongest mage in all creation, but also the biggest dumbass alive?
Yeah, so God, I love the mimic running gag. It is one of the best running gags I've ever seen. Not even in that it's always funny, but just that it is always joy-inducing and charming. The idea of this elf who is like so addicted to relics that she will fall for every mimic. Actually, I love the line. You were probably about to quote this, but I need to quote it first. I need to beat you to the punch here, unfortunately. Because when Fern does the spell to check, you know, hey, is this a mimic or not? And she's like, okay, it's a mimic. Come on, Frieren. We don't have to go through this again. But that spell is only 99% accurate, Fern. And my intuition, all my lived years, they're telling me right now, it's that 1%. It's got the uber mega grimoire in it, Fern. I gotta jump in.
It goes beyond just that, though. It goes, Fern's like, Miss Frieren, the detection spell clearly said that this is 99% guaranteed to be a mimic. And then Frieren's like, Fern, you absolute brainlet libcuck. You know what else is 99%? The number of gamblers that quit before they win big. This is why I stack grimoires and you pack donuts into your fat ass. Now watch how a real mage lets it ride. And then unceremoniously cuts to Frieren already inside the mimic. The music just, ends naturally, silence for a few seconds, and then, it's dark! It's scary!
Yeah, and Fern starts pulling her out, and it gets to the point where Frieren's like, dude, you're gonna rip me in half. Apparently the best way to get someone out of a mimic is to actually push them further inside so the mimic chokes and spits them out. And so, she does that, and Frieren is safe for now, until she falls into 2 other confirmed mimics throughout this dungeon. Yet another one while they're finding their way to the bottom, and then, my favorite part, at the bottom of the dungeon, there's all this gold, and, all these golden chests, and presumably, all the ones on screen, I would assume
there were 2 other ones before the one that we see that she's already stuck in.
Yeah, and then, we get to the end, and there's all these chests that are presumably filled with gold, and what I like to imagine is that Frieren found the chest that is a mimic, and fell right into it. Just the only one in that pile. That is my headcanon.
No. That's not even it. Those other open chests, those were all mimics. You can see the teeth on them. So she fell for... Yeah, if you go back in the frame, you'll see the 2 other chests that Fern's already standing there. You can see the teeth, and she's already like screaming and kicking. And so the 1-2 joke of not only is like the most powerful mage in all of existence, getting dogged by mimics once again, getting absolutely pranked, epic style, by mimics once again, but in the same room, she falls for it 3 consecutive times.
I just love how much of a klutz she is. Like we were talking about with her, like having this basic thing about magic that she just hasn't figured out somehow, despite being the strongest mage that we are aware of in the show, pretty much, with the exception of maybe Sensei, however you pronounce it once again.
Serie.
Oh, well, Serie, yeah, also. But I was talking about the long hair girl.
I think Frieren's stronger than Sense.
It is probable, considering her power. But yeah, I was blanking on Serie, so good catch. Yeah, she's stronger than Frieren. And I love this. Serie gatekeeps Frieren from being an A-class mage. Because they just have beef. They've got too much beef. Serie can't let it slide.
She has an ideological clash with Frieren because she does not think that it is not cool to let the stupid humans explore magic. Magic is sacred. It should only be for those who respect it, those who who truly understand it. These humans aren't going to understand it. They're going to use it for military shit and whatnot. They're gonna make magic cringe. We can't let magic into the normies. She's an elitist gatekeeper. You're right. And
that is actually... Oh, go ahead.
So she, when Frieren is like, let's let the normies in. Why can't we just like Demon Slayer? Why can't we just all enjoy the jingling keys and the popcorn entertainment? And then Serie's like, no, fuck you. And not only am I not going to pass you, you're also banned from taking the test for 1,000 years.
Listen, all I'm saying is if you focus only on the good parts of shows, they'll all be fun and enjoyable. Just look on the bright side, Neon. But anyway. God, I love that Demolition D bit. I quote it all the time. But... oh god, I had a point. Okay, I remembered the point now. My favorite world building detail of this show, since episode 3, with the whole thing about, them taking the magic that the demons were using against them and using it against them and, incorporating it into their own magic and it having developed over time. My favorite world building detail since that is the idea that, well, this whole thing about humans, okay, so they saw magic as, the devil's tool. Those demons, they are the ones using magic. It's not cool to use magic, bro. But Flam was the one who got this one nation on board with magic, and from there, it spread throughout humanity. And before this point, humans were not the dominant force in the world. They were, they were sort of the shit tiers. They were below demons and elves, in terms of, dominance over the world. But over time, upon learning magic and upon that spreading throughout them, they have become the biggest force to be reckoned with, because, despite elves living pretty much forever, they don't reproduce very often. Probably reproduce like once every 1,000 years. So it's slow going with them. And so they obviously can't be the dominant force once humans just start breeding like rabbits. And, demons, they eventually got overtaken by humans, along with a dwarf and an elf. And so, yeah, I just find all of that history of humanity within this continent very interesting, and the idea that Frieren was there to witness all of it, and Serie especially was there to witness, like, even before where Frieren was. But Frieren was there when humans weren't the big force to be reckoned with, and so she has the lived experience of seeing humans rise up and learn magic and all that, and I find that really cool, the idea that Frieren can just witness the entire rise of a species like that.
It's definitely interesting, the clash between, and the two different perspectives of those who have the same benefit of being able to live for thousands of years without fear of passing on from old age, and seeing the dawn of multiple civilizations. Well, maybe not multiple, like the dawn of like advancing from the elves in their own like little secluded huts or whatever to the rise of humanity, and seeing we see bits and pieces of it, like early on in the show with the whole Zoltrak thing, and how it used to be the most powerful spell ever, but then humans got their hands on it and tooled it, and now it's a basic ass attack spell. Just being able to like it's kind of like how our generation was born into the internet age, so computers and whatnot are secondhand to us. But then you think of it from the perspective of like someone born in the 70s or 80s or even like the 60s, who then grow up to see their technology, but then you coming into something as advanced as the internet, and then trying to wrap their head around it, but like being able to remember the time before the internet.
Yeah, and there was another world building detail to that effect, where it's like, because Frieren has had to learn all of this over time, like some of the newer spells, like I'm pretty sure it was countering Zoltrak. I'm like 90% sure it was that. It was that still takes a second for her to like process and remember, and so there's like a little delay. Whereas with Fern, that's just like second nature to her, because she's grown up with that magic, and so that to her that is literally just magic. Whereas in Frieren's mind, it's like, okay, this is this other branch of magic that didn't always used to be this way, and so I've sort of got to like process that in addition to blocking the spell. Which I also found really neat.
Yeah, I think the last thing I want to talk about with this block of episodes is to dive more into Serie and her, like what her whole thing with like magic represents, because I feel like there might be a deeper allegory to the show than just what is going on the surface. So we have Serie. Serie is the ultimate boomer, right? Despite being thousands of years old and able to live through multiple ages, she's stuck in her old ways of, no, magic is not for the normos, it's only for the cool guys, we can't let them have it. And, Frieren and Flam are pro let the normos in, open the floodgates, because why hold a good thing from the rest of everyone? Why can't we all enjoy and all put our own unique spin on it, right? It's kind of like they view it as an art form where they can take the basically limitless applications and possibilities of magic in this world and make their own unique techniques and abilities with it, to the point where magic can do all these different wondrous things, and yet Frieren's favorite spell is one that just creates a field of flowers because it's one that Flam taught her, and it was her favorite spell. And And all it does is just make the place that you're in prettier because it's surrounded by prettier flowers. And on this to Serie, an old boomer is just like, bro, you can like cast fireballs with your mind and create like super stone titan golems and making some flowers bloom. That's like the peak of magic to you. Are you retarded? But it's all about what you get out of it, because in a flashback near the end of the season, we find out that Frieren meeting Himmel wasn't the first time when he recruited her for the party. It was when he was a kid and he was lost, and Frieren was just wandering as she does, and she showed him the way out of the forest that he was lost in, and to ease his troubled child mind, she used the flower field spell to make all the flowers bloom, to put young Himmel's mind at ease. And then for the first time ever, it got Himmel onto, hey, this person had no idea who I was. It was just a total stranger, but she used magic in a way to make me feel better, take away my stress and alleviate my problem out of the, kindness of her heart, with no benefit to herself aside from, the contentness, I guess, of seeing a child safer. So that inspires Himmel to, be the kind of hero that he is, where he'll help all these, randos, these civilians, even when he's got the super duper important mission of slaying the Demon King and, saving the world. But he makes time for the little guys because, Frieren made time for him. And it's because of that act that snowballed into the effect. It's all, when you think about it, it's all Frieren's fault that the heroes party got formed in the first place. It's her doing that caused Himmel to become a hero and caused him to recruit her. And then they went on to defeat the Demon King. Frieren saved the world by making some flowers bloom.
It is crazy to think about, and I do enjoy thinking about that. But yeah, what's this allegory that you're getting to?
Well, for me, it's like, it's multi-pronged. There's that whole thing where magic is art. But then there's also the second layer, and maybe it's a little more meta, and maybe I'm, reading a little too much into it, but it feels like, there was a line that Serie said about how humans would, if we let them, use magic, they'd use it for military purposes, they'd pervert it. They'd take the wonder that is magic and make it cringe. And what now? I'm a little genre savvy when it comes to anime. We opened this podcast talking about how Frieren was the best, or at least one of the best, pure fantasy anime to come out in the past decade. But then we had to remember that, is that partially because there have been so few pure fantasy anime in the past decade, because it's been dominated by, shitty isekai and native isekai, just, hack fantasy settings? Is it possible that perhaps there is a bit of an allegory being made? And maybe, once again, I'm probably
see where you're going with
reading
this.
into this. Is it, should we, is fantasy as the genre, like, is like this kind of, this ability to create stories in this genre, is it cringe? Like, we're letting all these like cringe hack writers into it. Should we just, leave it the fuck alone and, just, be done with it? Or is it, like, should we allow people to, keep exploring all these different ideas, even if they do, we'll still have, shitty isekai. That's kind of, bad things will happen in the world no matter what you do. I'm saying this in a broad general sense, but you know what? Because of, having all these different advancements, you get people like Fern who come into existence and, excel so greatly in the field of magic that she becomes, this prodigious master before she's even old enough to drink the good stuff. And, likewise, you get people like, the Frieren mangaka, whose name escapes me, then kind of undermines my whole point in this, but, is able to create a story like Frieren, which kind of takes a similar, native isekai premise of, hey, the world's already been saved, we're, chilling now, the Demon King has been defeated by the heroes party, But now, the story's been told. The world is at peace. We're just doing our thing, and we're able to tell a thematically rich, deeply thought-provoking story with this show, with this manga, with this anime. Isn't it like such a cool thing that we're able to make these things when we open up the art to everyone?
Okay, so a few things. First of all, the author's name is Kanehito Yamada. So commit that to memory.
Okay, that guy.
That dude.
Okay.
Okay, secondly, point 2 of 3. You did make that the fuck up. There is no way that was the actual legitimate interpretation of the story. Third point, I believe in death of the author, and I like that interpretation, so let's roll with it.
Obviously, there's like I would need to rewatch the scene to get the lines exactly. Like if if I ever want to toy with the idea of making a video on this subject and making it a point that I want to
that would be a great video. It would get so many dislikes. So many people would tell you, "Oh, the author didn't think about it that way." Like even if you said it in the first minute of the video, they'd still say, "But the author didn't think that." Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I admit that I could be totally reading into this, but
you are.
And I may be generalizing because, it's not like the author's saying no one should ever be allowed to, mess with the fantasy genre again. There's nothing literally stopping you. No one's literally gatekeeping you by 1,000-year-old feet elf who's constantly got the dogs on full display to prevent you from writing your shitty fantasy story. But, it's the freedom of, allowing everything to come out of it, because when everyone's like it's the sharing of ideas and the sharing of like our not trying to spin this off to a broader thing than it is, cultural thing. We get to like all these different mixing of ideas, like this Japanese manga set in a fantasy story with elements that are inspired from Tolkien. They use German names. I think there's a point to be made there. I don't think I'm pulling this completely out of my ass.
I mean, you're not pulling it out of your ass in the sense that it does make sense. But you'll never convince me that was.
It's definitely not the primary.
You'll never.
It's definitely not the primary motive. It's definitely more of like an art as like a whole thing. Like it's if you want to like break it down to an exactness, it's like it's basically anti-gatekeeping.
I mean, I guess. I'm not sure how deep the allegory runs in the author's mind. I do see it as a bit far-fetched, but simultaneously to that, it's not like I dislike the reading, as I have previously established.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, obviously I didn't read, but no.
You know what? You watch so many shitty isekai for a seasonal podcast. You start kind of like reading between lines sometimes.
Yeah, it's almost like PTSD. You just see it in everything.
Yeah, like what do you think has like more soul and thought put into its themes? This or Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom?
Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom, baby! Greatest show ever made!
It's the Realist Hero sweep.
Realist Hero, let's go! I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna miss the deadline for my video. We had this challenge going where I'd have to watch Realist Hero if I missed the deadline I set for myself. I'm gonna have to watch Realist Hero. I don't think you understand how painful
I'm probably gonna have to watch Monogatari. We both gotta swallow our pride.
Uh-oh. So yeah, that's gonna be hell.
Yeah. And with that, I think we've covered everything we want to talk about with this final batch of Frieren episodes, unless you got anything else.
I think we already got more discussion out of it than I expected. Like a good hour and 20 minutes, that seems about right.
Yeah. So, final closing thoughts. I would say score 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 here as well.
It's I don't think it's quite the masterpiece. I'll still never forgive them for it dangling, say, like, why would you show me this Sane if I cannot have him? And like the longer that we're gonna go in season 2 without seeing anyone from the exams, the worse the show will be for it. We desperately need the show to take a page out of Avatar's playbook and have some episodes where we stray away from the main cast and go check in on our boys.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess, my main issue with the show overall, well, I already talked about it peaking early, and I guess we did get the big long arc that I wanted. That is very cool. It took a little long, but we got it, and it was like a good, girthy 10 episodes or so. And I do like that we got that we got some kind of long-running story that took advantage of its 28 episodes runtime. So that's based, but yeah, I mean, it is a solid arc. It is very entertaining, but it is still not what I would consider to be peak fiction or, anything like that. It is just a really entertaining, great arc that also could potentially lead to season 2 being kinda weak if it doesn't follow up on these characters in due time. And judging from what the comments have said about Sane, yeah, rough. That's what I'm gonna say.
But surely the comments aren't gonna be like, oh man, they don't know that Ubel it doesn't show up for like 100 more chapters.
Do they know? Oh god, if it takes forever for her to show up, I will sob.
She's so hot, dude. Why are all the crazy girls the hottest in anime?
But yeah. Let's see. Overall thoughts, though, it is still extremely solid fantasy. I love all of the characters. Stark's my boy. Frieren's the GOAT. All the side characters that they set up in this arc, I did enjoy all of them. Switching between all the perspectives was fun because I liked all the characters. I liked Sane, even though he won't appear for the next 3 years, judging from what the comments have said. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's about my overall thoughts. I mean, you can see the minutia by just watching the other episodes of the podcast.
Yeah. Damn, it wasn't this last point that I was about to make. I had it and then I lost it.
Oh
no. Oh yeah, I'm the nicest thing that I can say about the show, and the low key the greatest thing about it is not all of the positives within the show. It's that I'm so glad that the show has gotten as popular as it has with the anime community and the internet as a whole, because you never see this with the shitty isekai. And, that's one more W we can give it. Like, you'll never see any of like the 5 to 8 samey premise, same no idea shows all the time. Like, the children yearn for the good shit, and I'm glad this is one of those times where the good shit gets propped up.
What are you talking about? I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world 2 is the greatest show I've ever seen. What are you talking about, Neon? How could you?
Well, you know what? You raise a good point. The streets have been saying that the Shotokan isekai with the little boy with the delectable thighs
the phrase Shotokan isekai. I'm gonna have to watch it for the seasonal podcast.
Shotokan.
It is literally that. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to because it's too wild a premise, but I'm not gonna like it. It's gonna be torture.
I'm gonna get put on a list for watching. I've already just put myself on a list for saying Shotokan with delectable thighs, but now actually having the watch history of it on my browser history, it's gonna be so over for me.
Bro, I'll have like 5 VPNs up when I watch that episode. Trust me, I'll need all 5 of them.
Yeah, so if you want to support us before we inevitably get hauled off to jail for, viewers,
for war crimes,
go ahead and, I wouldn't go, it's not, a war crime, it's more of a, we're gonna end up on the sex offender registry. Wouldn't be the first time, eh, Crunchy?
Okay. You're just gonna drop that lore on him, okay. Definitely real, totally not made up.
I was gonna say, you called it lore like it's like a thing that actually happened.
What are you talking
Well, if you
about?
want-
It's definitely lore.
Yeah. Well, if you want more lore, viewers, then let us know what you think of the show down in the comments, and let us know what anime we should cover in the future. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a new episode. Subscribe to Crunchy's channel. Check out all our socials, all linked in the description down below. And that'll do her for this episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta,
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
and you'll see us next time.